Welcome to the fifth and final of our library lecture series sponsored by the Smith County Master Gardeners Association. My name is Dale Wade and I am co-leader along with Becky Wade, right back there, of the Education Program Committee. Just as a side note, Becky and I spent a week in the Great Smoky Mountains earlier this month. We saw several hungry black bears foraging along the roadside. So in honor of their emergence from a long winter's nap, I gained 5 pounds. Before we begin, Mr. Greg Grant, right there, would like to introduce some guests that we have.
As most of you know, the Master Gardeners are a volunteer association with the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service, part of Texas A&M University. Got an Aggie speaking today. And we also have a special guest today, the Dallas County Extension County Horticulturist Katarina Graham brought 10 of her star Master Gardeners from Dallas County. So stand up, Katarina. Stand up. We need to know who you are. Katarina, there you go. There we go. She's fairly new, and sadly, the person that needs his own mentor was appointed her mentor, and so yeah, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Sorry, Kat, but anyway, welcome to the Dallas County Master Gardeners, visiting the Smith County Master Gardeners. Put that where you found it.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Today's lecture, Japanese maples, azaleas, camellias, and more. How many varieties are enough is presented by Dr. David Creech. I'll read to you an introduction straight off of his website. Dave Creech directs the SFA Gardens at Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches. He was born in 1948, the son of Elbert and Lefert, brother of Susan. And he lived much of his early life in India, East Pakistan, and Burma, where his father worked in agricultural development during the glory days of the Green Revolution. He returned to the USA to finish high school at A&M Consolidated High School at College Station, where Becky and I were educators for a while.
Where they beat him up every day, by the way.
They did. That's because of the bow tie. He received the BS in horticulture in 1970, the MS in 1972 in horticulture from Colorado State University.
And he was just made an honorary what?
If you'll wait, I'll let you know. And his his PhD at Texas A&M University. He spent a while with TAMU at Overton, Texas as an extension specialist, and he joined the faculty of Stephen F. Austin University in Nacogdoches, where he still works, gardens, and lectures for a living and a lifestyle. His staff at SFA Gardens decided that the name Creech was decidedly more than a proper noun. It is also a verb meaning to receive information over a long period of time. For example, I got creeched on the way to the greenhouse and missed lunch. It can also be a regular noun as well, meaning the act of oration or diatribe. As in, creeching is now practiced in the gardens between 9 and 5 Monday through Friday. The closest synonym to the word creech that I could find in the Master Gardener thesaurus is the word grant. I'm here every Friday. In all seriousness, I discovered last evening that Dr. David Creech received the Colorado State University Department of Horticultural and Landscape Architecture Distinguished Alumni Award for 2023. Congratulations to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a man who was into bow ties before it was cool, and whose mantra is let's keep planting, Dr. David Creech.
Everybody hear me? No. Do we have to turn off the hand mic? Hello, hello?
Move it closer to your chin.
Hello, hello?
Get it closer.
Hello? Hello, hello? Got it. I was educated today, thank you for that introduction, I think. It's a miracle I'm here. I just want everybody to know. I've been through this epic flood, lots of things that happened just recently, and if you want to see wood ducks in the azalea garden, you're in the right place. We're going to talk a little bit about Japanese maples, other maples, azaleas, camellias, and this penchant for collection. We collect varieties like postage stamps at SFA. It's been doing it since about 1985. And for those of you that don't know who we are, this is how you spell Nacogdoches. Some people say Nacognowhere, but actually we're a wonderful little community about an hour and a half south and east. Some of you have been there. We have lots of gardens, Native Plant Center, Lenana Creek, Corridor, Mast Arboretum. So when you see a name on a garden, what does that mean? That means it's endowed, and that means it came with money, and that means the administration is happy, is what it boils down to. So we have Ruby Mize by Dottie Wisely, Gala Mize by Ray Mize, Mast is by John and Patricia Mast. SFA Recreational Trails and Gardens is part of the PNPC, Gala Mize, SFA Trial Gardens. The big one is Piney Woods Native Plant Center. It is 40 acres. We have no staff there. We have wonderful resources, great facilities, and that name, I'm proud to announce, is available to you for $4 million. So at the end of this lecture, we will pass the hat. No, we've been through some serious changes. I've been at SFA since 1978. Linda is here somewhere. Where are you, Linda? This is my former high school senior, when I was a senior at A&M Consolidated. Linda was there, and that goes back to, well, I don't even want to say how long. But I want you to know she was real attracted to me. But I had a girlfriend at the time, or was trying to. And so here we are, 40 or 50 years later. My life is this, your life is this. What I planned and what actually happened didn't exactly work out. And really, it did in a way until about 3 years ago. And we've had some weather woes, so have you, that are really epic. And I'm used to weather disasters. I'm in a lot of them at SFA. It's Lenana Creek, bottomland. And this is a week ago. So I'm telling you, 8 feet through most of the gardens. So this is kind of epic. I was at home. I thought it was just another nice rain. And I got to work, and it was Lappin Star, and that's going into Con Acres Park. I couldn't see any of the fruit trees. They were totally underwater. This is our trialing garden in Swift. I ran into a USGS guy, and it was 541 cubic feet per second floating under that bridge. Logs, epic proportion, huge balls of fire ants, snakes, copperheads, and water moccasins everywhere. And I'm saying, well, let's get to cleaning up. No, everybody's excited. So basically, we've seen it before, but never quite this bad. Hundreds of, we were interviewed by CBS 19, and it went kind of viral. I got phone calls from Tulsa and everywhere else. So sorry to hear this. And basically, SFA never said a word because they just know we'll figure something out, I guess. So we're in the process of scrapping up because we have a tour of homes and gardens. Ruby Mize is on it, and we had no choice but to continue because the tickets are sold, and you got to do it, is what they said. And I said, okay. So we're going to have our volunteers. We have about 33 of them now that are at Ruby Mize to say hello to everybody. One thing that's interesting is when the water recedes, the trees think, oh, that was too much, and they just fall over. And So we have sunlight that we've never had before. I like that. All of this weather is real bothersome. This was February of 2021. Y'all went to -6 or -7. That was epic. This is my home in the woods. It was trapped here for 4 or 5 days. This is right before the electricity went out. I have a wood heater. I could cook on it. Couldn't get to the road, couldn't get to town. We lost $45,000 worth of product in the greenhouses at SFA. Walked in, it was brown. It just froze everything, gas lines and everything. The fail-safe failed, and so we just had a lot of problems. My dog caught a rabbit. I thought, I got to get that rabbit. I'm hungry. It was a mess. And I'm just thinking, you know, my chosen field is not so good. I've been watching these, and you have too. This is 83, which was kind of epic. It went down to 4, 5, and 6 degrees here. 1989, we hit 3 or 4 degrees Fahrenheit. And see, that's 16 nights. It got below freezing. But this one in 2021 is different. It's late. And we had a lot of plants that were unaware. Thank God we had some snow cover with it. We went to -3 in Nacogdoches, which was -4 up on Swift Hill. So it was really kind of a problem. And mild winter that followed, pretty good growth year, and then 2022. I don't know if you know it, it was the 3rd worst for us in terms of heat and drought. We had no rain in June and July. It was the worst at College Station on record. We just kind of block a lot of this out of our minds. And then we just cruised on into the fall of 2022, just 5 or 6 months ago. And hey, I thought this was okay. It was very mild. Really, our first freeze was 9 degrees Fahrenheit. We had foliage on everything. Plants were happy. And I mean, it fried plants that had come back too vigorously from that freeze. And many of them have gone to heaven. This is an SFA van, and when I saw this at Alto with the tornado there, I said, uh-oh, there goes our merit raise for the year. It's gone. The kids were not in it. They were actually sheltered in a ditch, warmer in all 4 seasons, more violent, more extended droughts, more extreme. So we do have to kind of get used to it. Now, God looked down and said, I am a Texas Aggie, and I'm at an age where I can say what I think, and I'm transparent because the truth will set you free. So I was positive I was going to end up as a Texas Aggie, and the University of Texas, we just did it in the legislature. They're coming into town, and I go back to the 60s. We beat Texas 10-7 in 1967. Ed Hargett, I don't know, we were just rabid. And then we went to the Cotton Bowl, and we won 20-10. It was just, you know, that's what we're there for, to humiliate those silly people over in Austin. So now, I thought it was A&M, so my buds are working with Tim Hartman, Justin Shiner, and everybody. And I said, you got to up your game. UT's got something called money. They're lawyers and engineers, you know. They have no ag, they have no forestry. So I just assumed maybe something's wrong with this picture. And then one of my friends over at A&M in horticulture said, Dave, he said, we're going to have to pay Jimbo $89 million just to get rid of it. What was that about? I didn't even know that. So that's their coach. So I are a Longhorn right now. And this is really kind of an emotional moment in a lot of ways. I'm having issues with this. And so I got an email from the head of the department at A&M. He says, Dave, we've had a meeting about you. We decided to keep working with you as long as you're at SFA. But we want you to know one thing. We hate you. There is the truth to it. Gardens don't know anything about it. That's the beauty of gardening is that plants are away from the politics, and they're away from the weather. They've got to deal with it just like you and I do. And I do have the best staff. And so this is 9 staff at SFA. We can spell at SFA. And so we are very happy to have this crew. And in March of 2020, we had 9 staff, and it was 50% state, 50% soft money, external funding. With COVID, 13,000 students, 10,000 students. Tuition revenue bond debt, we're $500 million in debt. We built it, and they will come, they didn't come. And so we woke up with pretty much living on your help. And believe it or not, it's actually worked out in our community. We have some wonderful people that have stepped up that do not want us to see it go away, and so we're back in business, and we're going to 10. And as a last hurrah, I think we're hiring a Texas Aggie to kind of take my place. You'll have to deal with it later. So I'm excited about the future. I think there's lots of opportunity. And I look like a deer in headlights in this picture, but basically the rest of the folks here are hardworking and they know where we are. They understand the situation. We have 138 acres, about 60 some odd acres of irrigation. We still have students in horticulture. That is probably the poster picture of horticulture students in the world. I can't believe, look how clean they are. they're not actually working, but that is a picture. So Andy and Jordan now work for me. And this young bunch that we have today, we have some problems, but I'd say they're incessantly cheerful. What's that about? They are. They're pretty cheerful. And they're quite happy, and they just think that it's la-la land and bunnies and rabbits. I'm kind of incessantly grumpy, want more, need more, got to do this, got to do that. We have a wonderful group of volunteers at SFA 33 that help us pull together 2 plant sales that are now critical to our existence. And we have a lunch bunch, just like so many organizations. We pulled together a plant sale. The Aggies have come to study this plant sale. After Jared was over there, I was kind of shocked at that because we've been at it since '85, fall and spring '85, and the first one was actually the spring of '86, and this is amazing. No one came. I made 0. My mother came at 11. She didn't buy anything. My students were standing there with me and said they'll come after lunch. They didn't come. You were in the newspaper. We had a little thing. It was the saddest plant sale in the history of the world. But it makes a nice graph because it does start at 0. So when I moved in here, this is the Tucker House at the Native Plant Center, and this is my office. Hey, it's hard to complain, folks. I've lived overseas, worked overseas. All of this is just icing on the cake. And so these little problems we run into, let's keep some perspective on things. We could be sifting through the sand trying to find bits of grain to make it through the day. So when you look out of my office, this is kind of what you see. We have a pretty new 2014 conservation education building. We hold our lectures here. We have the foundation of it was children. We had 12,000 children a year. Wonderful educational programs on the environment and horticulture. Elise Rodewall was a magician over 20 some odd years. She retired. This position was blacked. So when the school started calling, we have no money. We had no position. But out of the woodwork of the Nacogdoches community of benevolent benefactors came some folks. We have hired Dr. Alan Sowards, and he is the lifeboat to the future. He worked with Elise, he retired. He didn't want to see all of this stuff go to ruin, all the work, all the ethics. We have 30 butterfly nets, we have microscopes, we have about $100,000 worth of stuff for the kids. We make them put away their phones and put them in a box with a tag on it, and that makes them get into withdrawal. It's really kind of crazy. So we're blessed that we have a garden. We're blessed that I think the future should be bright. I think we have 4 years to perform for the University of Texas. They're thinking about buying a hospital south of us. I don't know what that means on the south side of the campus. And Memorial Hospital, the lady making it UT Med, Tyler, come here. I'm not exactly sure. The faculty, that's all we think about. There's quivering lips. There's all kinds of excitement. It's like, you know, SFA is forestry is going to be the best in the world, hopefully. We've been growing these maples since 1985, and we always knew we could grow a few. Back then, it was green and red. That's all you could buy, and they were rarely available. And so I have a little bit of money, and I call Dell's maple. Oregon, and I said, I want 50 of your small ones. They were $4.75, and they were this tall. Little grafted plants, 1-year graft. And he said, what varieties do you want? Wow, I don't know. I just said, get us something that can stand heat, drought, and, lots of problems. And he did, and they're still there. They're still there. We grew them a year in a can, they were bare root, and they're still there. It's all about drainage. So we have 400 plus varieties. We've lost a few from falling trees, and that's hard to prevent. If a tree this big falls on your maple, I can't help you. It's just, and see, hey, there it is. How many Japanese maples are enough? If you look at Japanese maples, why is this plant so tough? I can't understand totally why we can grow it in Minnesota and why we can grow it in Beaumont. Drainage. They don't have much of a chilling requirement. They seem to do quite well in Houston, provided you give them some drainage. So the normal parameters that we judge fruit trees by, how many hours of chilling, y'all are master gardeners, you know what I'm talking about, doesn't really apply to maples. They need part shade, and they're a little tricky for 2 or 3 years. If you're a newbie, go with a palmate, a big, bold palmate. That's a big, bold leaf. It's easy. Then you can start messing around into these dissectums and divided leaves and dwarfs, etc. There's one called fairy hair. Fairy hair is this big in 10, well, technically that big in 10 years. And I have to put a sign, do not throw me out. People think it's just a little weed there. So there are more. There's variegateds and there's unusuals. And if you park them out at 20 to 30 feet apart, 50 feet apart, you end up with this cornucopia of all kinds of colors, from the reds to the oranges to the yellows. It really is a delightful companion with azaleas to me. And the fall show is just as good as the spring show. Now, some of them will color up in the spring, some will color up in the spring and fall, some are fall only. You have lots and lots of choices. And if you go to our website, I had it's been a bad week. I had a handout, I had it printed, got in the truck and had it next to me, and it's for next week's talk on another subject. So I didn't think that would be good to hand out, so we'll get that to you some way or another. I need to talk to my secretary. So here's a palmate. See how bold that leaf is? It's not cut. Now this is Totonoito, and when you have these thread leaves, wait on that one if you're new at this, because these have so much surface area. There are actually Japanese maple files who have measured the distance of the edge on every leaf, and they get this number. Whereas a palmate has certain distance, measure the edge, versus these that are thread leaf. These are harder to grow. They are tricky to dry out in the summer. The quality of your fall show, how beautiful it is, depends on how good you are in June, July, and August. So if you skip a watering or you didn't water and you burn some, that burn doesn't heal. It's going to show up in the fall. So if you walk into a garden of Japanese maples in the fall and you look at it and you don't see a lot of burn, you're really looking at some good horticulture that happened 3 or 4 months earlier. So we're real excited with all the varieties. If you go to our website, you can look at Shayna. I like Shayna a lot. I like anything that has color in the spring and the fall. Some of the medium sizes that are out there. I don't mind yellow. I don't mind orange. Everybody wants some of these fire engine reds. He's part of it. Boston Florida has been with us a long time. And the color show is pretty good. 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks up in the spring. It's pretty good in the fall as well. There's other ones as well. That's Orange Dream. If you like these kinds of things. Now, where do you go to get them? That's on our website too. You go to lowest cost. I realize all of y'all live in this state behind a gated community, but if you're in a trailer park, there are places to buy Japanese maples. And Jim's Farms is one of them where you can buy a small maple for $10 or $12 and you can grow it out. Now, I don't know if y'all are going to the nurseries and looking at them, but they want $100 to $200 to $300 to $500. If you were young, and I was young, 30 years ago and you had planted these under a pine tree forest on a 20/20 spacing, students, how many is that per acre? That's about 100 and some odd per acre. You can be getting $500 and $1,000 now, tree spaded into Bill Gates' yard or something. So there's money in this. Why is there so much money? Why are they so expensive? It's more than just gravity. They don't ship. You can't ship them. They break. So you take a lot of plants and we cinch them up and stack them like cordwood in the tractor trailers, roll them in nurseries far and wide. And maples don't ship well. They break real easy, so you kind of have to stack them, and it's expensive to move them in your specimen maples. There is a trick to growing them in cans, and you can grow them rather fast, and it's white poly. Not clear poly, not shade poly, white poly, good irrigation, good fertilizer, and you can actually put growth on them like they do in the Northwest. It's the Northwest that really hasn't shined, and they have really done well for years. I prefer these. I like these little toadstool maples. I think they're pretty cool. There's dozens of them, and this is Orangiola. And, you know, in 40 or 50 years, it might be 8 or 9, 10 feet wide and 5 or 6 feet tall. And this is the toughest males in the landscape. This was a project with students. This is Oto Hime, which Hime stands for baby hands. And these are high grafted, so the class grafts them high. And they don't get to keep them, I keep them, but basically we park them out there. But they do say, hey, I did that. I remember when we did that. So this is a small toadstool maple that's part of it. There's Odo and Yatsubuse and Shishio. It's just the form. I've watched people in our garden, and you don't know that when we have you on camera. And it's not always, but basically they'll reach over and they'll pet that plant. No, it's a plant. And it's worth petting, I think, in a lot of ways. Pruning and training is easy. Don't. I like that attitude. Don't prune and train. And I hate it when we limb them up too high. I just like to leave them alone. But basically, the classic is to use a rule of thirds. This is classic. That is, 1/3 can be kind of clean. 2/3 is up in the air, wider than tall. Oh, this is the psychology of it. Japanese maples are considered the most beautiful form in the world, and a lot of it has to do with these acacias because it's imprinted. I know I'm in the Bible Belt, I'm going to do it anyway. But basically, this tree is imprinted in your brain. It's a beautiful tree. About 1/3, 2/3. You were trained in our evolution to see trees like that in the Serengeti and know that the leopard had a deer up in there. And you'd go out there and you'd wait. And the leopard would go off and hunt some more, and you'd sneak in there to get that deer. So this is in the brains of human beings. If you show Alaskans, Japanese, Chinese, all kinds of people all over the world, it's that plant-people relationship that we have. It's kind of imprinted. Now, at this point in time, people usually ask me to leave the room or something. I don't know. I read that in Cleve Baxter's work. So putting different forms of trees in front of you and say, I really like the form of that one. There are so many wonderful species of Acer maples, and we have a lot of them. We work with some Chinese material, work with the National Arboretum, Atlanta Bot, there's Scott McCann, next to Fire Dragon. This is Baby Dragon. That's our trident maple, Naruto Kaii. There's just a lot of them that have qualities that do well in the garden. Everything we're going to show today, I'll let you know, it's not all these just think -4 is nothing. It's nothing. That's important. We do have Camillias. That's a different story. There's 2 of these that are in heaven, and there are several that are not, that are still there. All of Bobby Green's material, which is now being sold at Home Depot, the emerald and rubies are wonderful, wonderful. He's a wonderful breeder, and he's got lots of hardiness built into it, good flowers. So whether it's a Sasanqua or a Japonica, we have a lot of species that crater to the ground. This thing was tough on the camellia world in general. And a lot of the standards, like Yuletide that is in the stores here, you can buy a Yuletide, They took a major hit. It's almost to the point where you say, well, he's so wounded, should I cut it back? So we cut nothing back. We wait, we're still waiting. And then I had the 9-degree Fahrenheit, and that confused me. So working with Dr. Mung Mung Gu at Texas A&M, she was an extension specialist, we were about ready to do some pub work, and then December 23rd hit this last year, and it messed up all the data. So did it get wounded in 2021 and then kind of kicked off the face of the earth in 2022? We're not sure. It was so confusing that she left, and she's now head of the department at Colorado State. I keep saying we need to publish this because we've got a lot of data, but it is confusing to ascertain exactly what killed this plant. We're looking for what thrived, not what survived, and certainly not for what died. And we want to have a definitive list on the azaleas, camellias, and everything else that we happen to grow. Here's 2 surprises. -4, never had any problems at all with it. So Houstonensis and Gauchoensis. So we just shipped some of this to the National Arboretum, and it's part of some breeding programs in the future. I know it's a white, it's not that exciting, it's from the Yunnan, but it just flowered on ahead like it was in a normal environment. So I was pretty pleased with that. I love camellias and always have, and go to some of the camellia shows, and I was privileged to be at a show in Baton Rouge. And it was a competitive, you go for the win, you know, you're the best flower, etc. Frank Hauser usually wins the biggest one. But anyway, these are the judges right here. And this lady, this was the angriest woman. And so I captured it. There's actually some other ones where I was just really pontificating about how horrible the judges were. And they missed the blemish on that petal. And I thought, oh my God, I never knew that camellias were quite so controversial. It's just really bad. Roy the Tree is still with us. Jax, I love Jax. It's just beautiful, wonderful. And the Thomas came through. Thomas no Earl. These are simple, smaller, etc. There's probably 15,000 camellias now that you can put into your yard. Y'all are in worse shape than I am. Y'all are north. You know, this is pretty amazing. This is Brandy, who's still working. This was way back, and that's Frank Hauser. And Frank Hauser is slow as can be, but it will lay 7-inch blooms out there. We're from Texas, so I had quite a few of those. And basically it is gone. I mean, it just died root, tops, said goodbye to the world. So we have a wonderful list that you can look at. So don't profile Frank Hauser unless you can cover it and provide it with a heater. It's a tricky plant. One of my favorites is Simplicity. It's Todd Katie, and it comes from this fellow. And this guy, I've been so blessed. There are a few advantages to getting old. One of them is meeting people and knowing people. And this is Sherwood Edmund, and he attended Todd Katie. And he's the father. He passed at the age of 94, and he kept all these secrets. You know how we are when we're old. So he knew how to root a Japanese baby. So I can't tell you that. I kind of, you know, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, he had a contorted tupelo. I'll never forget it. I have it. So Nissa is a landscape plant. Tupelos are not knocking them out at Home Depot. It was just a tree, and it was like this, kind of contorted. And I liked it, and I said, "Surely let me have that." It's 89 at the time. He said, "No, don't think I might patent that." And I said, "Sherwood, you're 89. You know, it's a tupelo. Nobody even knows a tupelo. Nobody wants a tupelo." No, my patent. So anyway, Janet, that's my wife there, we kept going back, and she wore it down. So he made one of those tupelos. And he called it Contorta, and I propped it up a little bit. It's never patented. There's very few tupelos that make wildfires patented. It went up to North Carolina, and Paul Zane named it Zydeco Twist. That's a pretty good name. It doesn't sell, change the name. I love this one. This is Kujaku's Baki, which is one of the pendulous forms. We've had so many people come through and look at the collection. So if you like Camillias, we're in pretty good shape. Everything is on a map. Everything is on a map. Everything is not labeled. And we do have issues with labels. We also have issues with students taking labels from one plant and putting them over here. We had a daylily collection, 450 varieties, and I went out there and they were all, I had a map, but why do people do that? Spangles, one of the few varieties. We have a number of varieties in the garden. Some of these primitive ones from China. We have 2 gardens, 3 gardens actually that do azaleas, and I think we're at 700 varieties. Barb Stump told me we have parked 700. I don't know how many are still there after the flood, but Dottie Wisely was Nacogdoches, and I want to tell you a very quick story. I'm going to skip the story, I'm running out of time. Visit Texas Azalea, largest azalea garden. That's still true. They tried at Shangri-La. They got flooded out worse than we did, not this time, but many years ago. But there's the Ruby Mize Azalea Garden, which is 8 acres, 46 beds, all drained and on out Creek bottom. Keep in mind that everything you see on this azalea garden is 6 to 8 feet above the plants. But it's okay. It's not okay, but they live because it's swift, it moves out, it's gone, and then you're back in business. And so we have trail edge problems. We do have about 1.5 miles of asphalt trails through here. The trail edges have fallen to pieces with this particular flood. We're going to bring back the Little Miss Princess Tea Party now that COVID is over. I'm real proud of that. And this is a high demand event. One that I was against because it has no educational value. And basically it's 20 to 30 little kids that are just average children, to be honest with you. But mom and dad, grandpa, oh, it's the most beautiful baby I've ever, no, it's a normal, spoiled child. And what do you do, you know? So I was opposed to this, and but then I found out the president's granddaughter was there, and Mrs. I said, this is the best idea I ever had. Sometimes you make the right decision. This was one. This is Coromo Chickaboo, and actually I have some plants in the truck, but I didn't know where I was parking, and it's around the corner. So this is one of them. And this is Coromo Chickaboo, which came from Margie Jenkins. And I love this plant because it flowers all the time. And there's the granddam of horticulture. And she passed away at 98 here in southeast Louisiana. And she ended up giving us 800. We were buying them. And she said, no, I want you to use it. It's a good plant. She was so sweet. Margie Jenkins. Margie Jenkins was a classic Jenkins nursery. And she was really a close friend of ours for so many years. She didn't care about the money. She didn't care about anything but sharing her love of horticulture. And it's changed world since then. And she could propagate, she could root a fence post. This lady was so good. And I would visit her and she'd say, wait a minute. She'd run into the prop house and she'd sweep those hands over that his bed. She could feel it in her hands, whether it was too humid or need to turn the clock, need to do something. She could root a fence post. That girl was something. So out of about 800, I think, Big Pittman's walking along, and basically he spotted a sport. This is a lesson for you. And so it was in the Coromo. You put 800 plants in a row, there's going to be a mutation probably. And so this is one that we call Margie Speckled Spider. We call it Speckled Spider. We sell this plant. It's being sold in a few nurseries. So we have a white, and we have purple, like this one, and a little bleachy, but there it is, and we're pretty proud of it. And you just take the cutting of it, keep it going, and before you know it, you have a new propagule, a new variety. I really want to concentrate a little bit more on other plants besides the evergreen green meatballs that we see. This is deciduous azaleas. This is our native senescence, southeast Texas. It shows you that you can develop trees 20 to 30 feet tall if you want to, or you can whack them back every now and then and get them to eat. So we've been cataloging all the damage. There's Sherry Randall, who's in the Azalea Society at Bar to Stump. We've been rating them 1 to 6. Well, 0 to 6. 0 is dead. That's easy. 6 is, hey, no damage at all. And so we've been watching this database for a while. And Barb is she's retired now, but she really gets all the credit for the design of the garden, connecting us with the Azalea Society and all the breeders, etc. So I think that's wonderful. But it's our native azaleas that forget about having any problems with them. And they're beautiful, but they do have a problem. They are deciduous. Oh, we should just throw them away. So everybody wants a round green, evergreen meatball. And this is not that. This is deciduous. So it loses its leaves in the winter, and then they come out, and you'll see so many blooms, and they also have the added advantage of being fragrant. So it's a native. It's tough. You don't have a lot of troubles with insects and diseases, and they just get better with time. There's all kinds of varieties. We work with a number of folks in the southeast. This was Bob McCartney's. He's not very creative with names. This is yellow number 3. This is yellow number 2. But that's how breeders sometimes are. We have Double Pleasure, Four Kings, High Tide, Sunrise, Clear Creek, and then there's Tommy Dobbs, who is politically irreverent guy, Confederate flag. So he named all of his after Confederate generals. We don't like that, I guess, in America anymore. So we're Jeff Stewart, and there's a bunch of them out there. So you have lots and lots of choices. They're all available through mail order and specialty nurseries. And if you put them in a can and give them a little fertilizer, good high quality water. Good high quality water. These last how long, Keith, in College Station? Maybe 30 minutes. The water is so bad, too much salt. So if you have salt in your water, you have bad well water, they don't like anything over 50 parts per million sodium. So it's a pretty demanding crop that way. And then there's my friend at PDSI, Buddy Lee. There's Buddy Lee, he's a rock star. This guy was a nurse. He had a backyard nursery. He had very little going on. He could breed, and he walked in and he had rhododendron hammy-eye crosses. Encore, the azalea that knows no seas. And it's Jim Barry's daughter, Charlotte, who came up with the name. PDSI, Jim Barry was there. And he had him under trial. His daughter, they had $30,000 into a Madison Avenue firm, and she's the one who came up with the name Encore. And the Madison Avenue firm made $30,000 and said, we can't beat that name. That's a good name. Azalea that knows no season. And they put a Martha Stewart look-alike without the ankle bracelets on the tractor trailer, laid it down the highways, and she's holding up an Encore, you know, and it's just like boom. So Buddy's driving a nice truck. He works for Encore, his own brand. He's a rock star, and just the nicest guy that you've ever met. We introduced this one. This is Dottie's Red Slipper. It's the Wang. Chinese left China during the Cultural Revolution. It snuck across the border with about 60 of these different Wang breeding lines. We really like this one. And so we're seeing it in some nurseries as well. Watch It is good. This is what happens when you have, that dogwood fell over, by the way. It was hammered. That's Weaver. So we'll put one back in its place. There is more. I do want to say a few words about crepe myrtles. I'm not against crepe myrtles, but I've lost my sense of humor about crepe myrtles in a lot of ways. We have the blackleaves running up and down the roads here, and people are making a fortune at them, and that's a red rocket gamma irradiated. Cecil Pounders is the founder of that. From Mississippi State, he took a bucket bag of seed, put it in the cyclotron, zapped it with gamma rays, killed most of them, mutations everywhere. One of them was a blackleaf. It's heritable. You get 10% that come out of it, so it's not a surprise you'll see so many of them. In my opinion, they have problems. In my opinion, we have enough. We have 136 varieties of Lagastronia in our parking lot and side garden there. So this is the first in the world drive-through crepe myrtle arboretum. It's hot in the summer. Think about it. You don't want to roll your window down. So I said, I went to safety and I said, I want to stencil the name on the concrete curb there for each variety. Brilliant, right? No, Dave, we can't let you do that. People think it's somebody's parking spot. I said, Todd, there is nobody, Mr. Red Rocket, Mr. Dynamite. No. Anyway, they won't let me do it. So there's about 30 of these now, and they're all just absolutely wonderful. They're smaller statured, and they need to be juiced. They're not going to do well in the media. Forget about them out there in the media. Your nearby communities, you're going to have to put them in a bed. You might cut them back, get them to go. They're kind of tricky, in my opinion. The minute they were available in America, they were in China the next day, I promise you. And this is a big deal, because black and red is wedding colors in China. A lot of people don't know that. So there's millions of them. If it's at Home Depot, Walmart, Lowe's, it's in China the next day. I chew on them about that all the time. I go back and forth to China with some projects. I say, oh, you shouldn't be taking our material. And there was a professor there who said something that kind of resonated. Dr. Creech, apples, peaches, plums, pears, olive, rosacea, olive, brassica, rice, everything. These are all Chinese. We have seen no money. And you're mad about a crepe myrtle? So, well, that was a long time ago. We didn't know what we were doing. I said, we gave you opium. I mean, anyway, there's more varieties on the way, and they're bringing in speciosa, which is tropical. You got big leaves. Everybody's trying to mess with it. But that's the problem, and you have it here. This is crepe myrtle bark scale. And we have it here. There is, so you can use the neonics. You can hire this guy for $60 to clean up your tree. This is Shreveport, Louisiana. And crepe myrtle bark scale is a very serious long-term problem. And it ran from McKinney all the way down I-20, stumped off in Tyler. Hit Shreveport in 2009. I saw it there. My wife went down the street. She lives in a nice community there in Highlands. She brushed and scrubbed with soap and water, and she got rid of all of it. But a little bit came back the next year, and then a little more, and then a little more. So it's an annual opportunity for this insect to jump around. The more crepe myrtles we have, the easier it jumps. So you just have to face. You can live with it, or you can use some other chemistry. Dorminol helps. But the neonics should not be used because of the work done by Dr. Gu and Dr. Young at LSU. It's in the pollen, and the bees get confused. And we have a problem. The bees basically end up losing their way home. There, she's the head of the department. We have a variety, looking for variety-resistant. Dogwoods love dogwoods. And this is my new philosophy. Buy 10 low-cost small seedlings and plant them and hope that a few of them live. Dogwoods are tricky. They are drainage, sunlight, and everything else related. And they are like sheep in a way. They're born looking for a place to die. But if you just end up kind of parking them around, so going and buying these expensive varieties. This is Cherokee Princess in a good spot. Love the pinks. This is Cherokee Brave. It's a good variety. It's just really got to take care of. It's all about drainage and then not letting them dry out. This is history, killed at -4, but I'm so proud of these from Mexico. These are Cornus 4. The same as our dogwood, but it lives in the mountains near west of Monterey. Never breaks the bracts. It's like a little umbrella. Isn't that pretty? And so it's kind of a rainforesty thing, and it drips there, and I theorize that it makes a little umbrella over the pollen. Does that make sense in a way? I made that up. But I like the idea. So Cornus angustata, we promote this. Keith Hansen does as well. Bulletproof at -4, beautiful flower. Evergreen dogwood from China, and it's handy in a drought. It's useful in a famine. It's useful in a famine. And that's what my Chinese friend said, is I eat it because it isn't going to be at Kroger's. It's not that good. A little sweetness. But he said, Dr. Creech, this is extremely useful in a famine. I like plants like that. And particularly since we're going to have one maybe one day. We do a lot of red buds. This is the old forest pansy. This is Dan Hosage's Traveler's Weeper. Ruby Falls. Denny Werner is driving a Raptor truck to the sunroof because of his introductions in North Carolina State. He has really hit it out of the park. He introduced pink pom-poms, which has up to 50 petals on this long peduncle. We have Alley Cat, Rising Sun, Burlow, Ace of Hearts, Hearts of Gold. And this is the one that you should die for. This is Flamethrower. This is the best darn thing I've ever seen. And when I saw that, I said, Denny, it's over. You've got a mansion now. I mean, he gets 25 cents each, just need to do 5 or 10 million, and you're in business. So basically, I bought in 200. You can't get them now. They're sold out from the Bear Rig people. They're tricky to get. It's just a beautiful red bud that I think is going to work here. It's chilling on this. This isn't going to make it in Houston. So if you have friends in Houston, I can grow this, you can't. So this will grow in Thailand, and I think it'll grow for us. We've had a couple of low chill years. We've had it 4 years. So I'm excited. Everybody realizes that ball cypress, when it comes down to it, is going to be here long after we are. There's 3 of them, Bald Pond, Montezuma. There it is at Shishley's Tree Search Farm, Bald Montezuma Pond. Montezuma is a Texas native. It's on the tip of Texas. And then bald and pond, and these are everywhere all over the world because it's considered a wonderful structural tree that can live thousands of years. We have the biggest in the USA with more farms in South Carolina. This is Cascade Falls. It was found, and we made a tunnel out of it. This is where people have weddings. And this is where the college kids practice being married. It's really a wonderful location. It's a tunnel. It's a tunnel of love. And so I'm excited about that one. And I bought 200. Well, actually, I persuaded Doug on Trees USA. Go to Plants of Texas, his new nursery out there. That's former student. And I persuaded Doug to buy 500 of them from Oregon. I said, oh man, this is going to make you a pile of money. This is going to make you rich. So he bought in 500, threw them up on a 9-foot pole, couldn't sell them. Repotted them, put them in a 45, put them on a 12-foot pole, couldn't sell them. But sold some, about half of them. I think he had started with 500, he had 250. He called me, he said, Dave, do you want the rest of it? He said, if you'll pay for the tractor trailer, I'll get them down to you. And I said, I'll take it. And I gave some to the Rose Center. I think they're still there. Don't you have some there? I gave them everywhere. And my idea was, if you put them out there in the public, there will be this huge demand that people want this thing. And it is absolutely a zero plant, I guess. I don't know why you wouldn't want something like this at your doorway. You don't. People just look at it, they like it, but they won't buy it. So we have a child of this one. This is the Senator near Lockwood, Florida. And this was burned January 2012 by Sarah Barnes. And she was smoking meth at the base of the tree. She was a wannabe model. And it caught on fire. And as she was leaving the scene of her dastardly crime, she took some cell phone pictures. I used to post her pictures, but I'm older and kinder and nicer now. And she did 2 or 3 months, and that was about it. But she sent iPhone images of it to her friends. I can't believe I set this tree on fire. Which is like saying, I can't believe I'm silly enough to send an image of what I just did. So it was 3,000 years old. It's kind of hollow, and it's gone. But down the road, this is a lesson, was a nursery. And he had got some wood. He had pulled it out. He had wrapped it. Gary Knox, one of my friends there, said, Dave, somebody saved that tree. He's got a dead tree. And he says, do you want some? I said, I'll take all of them. Good gosh, that's history. So we now have the senator grafted in a prominent position in the garden. So that's good. We also have this tree. So this was this was my honeymoon. See this little lady right here? That's Janet. And I said, let's go to Oaxaca and we'll eat bole and we'll have margaritas and we'll go to the square. It was safe back then. And I really wanted to see this tree, to be honest with you. So I loaded up. We went out to the bus in it. And we took a bunch of pictures, and she was happy to see this tree. It's 200 feet in circumference. 78 children could put their hands around it. It was a monster. And she said, you took over 200 pictures of the tree, but only 2 of me. And I said, I will see you forever. I'm still with her. So this is Shangri-La. That's pond cypress, which has this ascendant foliage. And I worked with Professor Ian for 30 years now. He's my bud. And we've been bringing in the clones. And so we now have the Montezuma ball crosses. They're available in some nurseries in high-end big containers. We're trying to get it out. You can buy some from Almost Eden, too. So 406 is our chosen variety because it's Cercosporidia free. This is a rust that happens in the fall. A lot of all cypress. It's actually a fungal infection. It's just kind of in the end of the year, you'll see a lot of that. But isn't that a pretty tree with no leaves? That's the problem. I don't want those leaves. Y'all hate leaves. I like leaves. I think they're a character, but this is what we're promoting, and you can root it. We have a rooting protocol for it, and I've got them parked everywhere. This is over in Louisiana, Red River. So it's a clone. It's rooted. It's exactly alike. They're mirror images of each other, so they're cookie cutters. This is how you do highways. If you do seedlings, what happens? One wins, one loses. And they have all these different forms. It looked pretty good the first year or two, but then after that, things change. We have the Moody Gardens, 4 foot above the ocean, and they're doing quite well there. They're salt tolerant, that's why they were bred. And we have dwarfs. So this is Jim's little guy, and on the left is a ball cypress called Little Guy, and we are rooting it. Then this is our Witch's Broom Pinus taida. You like it, there's Little Guy, and we think that's important. Liquid amber styraciflua slender silhouette. What is that? That's sweet gum. It's hard to promote sweet gum, but this is our circle, and we made a labyrinth, and basically I think it's kind of beautiful, and people say, does it still have those sweet gum balls? We hate those. I said, yeah, but they don't fall far from the tree. Doesn't make a difference to me. Anyway, isn't that pretty? So I did the eclipse in the middle there. We had some people write some stuff in the paper about this labyrinth. They thought it was a cult. Somebody said virgin sacrifice. True. Scary. So basically, when the eclipse came, really was yearly. I said, dear God in heaven, give me the strength to deal with this administration. Great place to come and think. It takes about 9 minutes to get to the middle on a 7-course labyrinth. They were associated with monastery. We did a lot of oaks. This is Camillias. You know, live oaks kind of owned the game, and they had problems this year. They're coastal. We pushed them all the way up into Dallas, Fort Worth. And so there's live oaks that didn't have the genetics to deal with the cold. They do rather well here and Shreveport across the Gulf South. That's kind of a picture of them in a lot of ways. But I have Grandview Gold now, private sided, grafted, so we have a bunch of them grafted actually, so we're going to be sharing that. Everybody needs a canary yellow live oak. I think he's in trouble too. So Mexico oaks are great. There's all kinds of species. This is our rhizophylla that went through -4 degrees, loquat leaf oak. That's no problem. So why would a plant in Mexico be able to deal with -4 when they never see below freezing? Genetics and history and evolution, and the genome carries the genes from thousands of years ago when the ice ages pushed them down. Montezumas are hardy, which is crazy. Polymorphous and Aggie Superstar, Texas A&M Superstar. There it is in the wild, wonderful, wonderful tree. Germana, love Germana. It's pretty hardy. We had some damage on it at -4, but it's a nice big chunk in acorn. So you can really do something with it. Tara Humara had a little more problems, a little more southern in Mexico. So we're really just trying to be on the cutting edge. Here's one that I wish, Greg and I both had talked about it. He has the collection. He has a lot. This is his image. This is Chinese pistache. It's the male form, and if you go to Central Texas, you'll see a lot of Chinese pistachios running wild. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to introduce invasives, and so we love fall color, and that's a particular clone, and I think I've shared some with him in the past as well. So there's invasive issues, and there's superior males, but I don't see very many of them in the trade. We do a lot of work with magnolias at SFA. We have Magnolia virginiana, the sweet bay, all kinds of deciduous. I love magnolias. Skip worrying about the freezes on most of the evergreen native magnolias. So in this batch, there's fovulata. It was wounded. The rest of them are deciduous magnolias. They don't have any troubles at all. We've got yellow. Where did the world get yellow magnolias? It came out of sweet bay. Magnolia virginia has a little bit of yellow in it. They incorporated and selected. Look at butterflies. Isn't that a cheerful idea? Butterflies, gold star. We have rare ones too. This is a Mina from the Yunnan that's really kind of priceless in so many ways. It's extinct in the wild. I was a big promoter of Chianaptis retusus, Chinese French tree. You'll see it here and there in East Texas. This particular area here is hurt pretty bad. I'm not exactly sure why. We have some that are not infected. I love our native. Is anybody growing Gordolinia? This is a fairly new plant. You like it, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's got some red fall foliage. Big old wonderful saucer-looking bloom and hard shade. And I got one in full sun. So Gordonia crossed with Franklinia. Perodia persica, I have one of these in the truck if we can get them in here just a little bit. Perodia silviqualis, found in 2004. It's not over, folks. We can still find new and exciting plants. The Persian witch hazel, been with us a long time, goes back to the 1800s. But in 2004, way across over there in China, in Zhejiang province, they found this Perodia silviqualis, which is fire engine red. So what do you do? This is Hibiscus syricus. We have a wonderful collection of it. Althea, Rose of Sharon, old-timey fashionable plant. And look at this summer ruffles. I don't see it in the trade. It should be. It's variegated. It stands up 7-8 feet tall. And that's about all it does. But wow, what a pretty plant. It should be propagated and used more. Greg Grant has done a lot. Oh, this is Greg's introduction. Le Comte. And this was stolen, liberated from a landscape in LeCompte, Louisiana. It took about 15 seconds, and the kid had the cuttings and was gone. I was at a conference a year or 2 years later, and he was saying, we have a really pretty one in our town, and the lady won't let us have any cuttings. And I said, well, that's too bad. Isn't that funny? That's illegal, I assume. Greg's still the pinkest, in my opinion. We've looked at a lot of pinks. Flora Ann, really a nice pink. Got one of these for y'all if we can get it out of my truck real quick. This is Calacanthus chinensis from China, sweet shrub. There's our American sweet shrub, Floridas, and this is Hartridge wine. And there's white fire form, and then this is Burgundy spice, which is awesome. And it's tied up with star roses and plants. It is patented, and they won't release it. It's not available. It's been 10 years, and this is ridiculous. So I put one in there. I can't sell it to you, but I sure can give it to you. So we have a lot of hydrangeas, whether it's the Max or the oak leaves. We do a lot of work with oak leaves. We've got some wonderful clones there. This is my biggest one. I just like big. So there's the biggest one that we've got, which is, I don't know, what does that say, 18 inches. That's pretty big, And we do paniculata. This is our trialing garden. This was a picture at the first. It was so much fun. Very quickly, muscadines, blueberries, kiwi fruit, figs, jujubes, persimmons, and pineapple guava. We love fruit. I started with fruit at Texas A&M. I was in the peach business, Creech's Peaches, where quality never gets in your way. And here I am at the end of my career bringing back fruit. Wonderful muscadine vineyard. We have great varieties, 12115 Mississippi State. And we've made some money this year. We've got to feed staff. And there's Blueberry Patch. Love bags at 74, not having to bend over that much. Get into the smart pots. They're easier to grow. Put a clock, put a drip line. You're in business. Figs have gone down to the ground twice in the last 3 years. We're still at it. We have another building year. All of y'all face the same problems with figs. I sold a lot of fig wood. I'll sell you anything that moves on our property. And so we sold fig wood to Sam Pollard at Texas Pecan Nursery. He got a truckload. Now, I don't care. I want that. We need some money. So this is Jordan showing you some of our figs there. We just get a 0 to 10 rating on these because of people that go in there. Well, we pay taxes. And I said, well, you should just have enough to eat, but when you pull up with the truck, come on, it's not a good thing. We had a lot to do with introducing kiwi fruit. We're excited about that. Golden kiwi is what we're interested in. We've been, this year's crops, it's going to be 7 out of 9. Now it's going to look like maybe 7 out of 10. Because we really got hammered on March 23rd frost, and so did you, if I remember right. It was kind of hard on it, but I love this crop. I love this fruit. I think it could be a homeowner thing, and there's a variety available now called Golden Dragon. And CK3 is the male. You have to have a male plant and a female. Our plant sale is, we should have it in our plant sale. This is our plant sale, and you can see Charles, there's my volunteers, and he's concerned how Jeff is hauling his plant off by the neck. But what a great plant sale. It's all due to you, and we certainly do appreciate the support. Come and visit. Let's keep planting. Thank you very, very much. Any questions? You just Google. Do we do that here? Jen's Farm. J-E-N-S Farm. I tell you, I have a handout. I'm going to send it to Greg, and I don't know what he'll do with it. But Jen's Farm. She's in Tennessee. She brings us maples that are about this tall for $12 to $15. She has a wonderful list, and she's really, really a nice lady. She does all the grafting with 2 other people. There's another place, Mr. Maple. Everybody knows Mr. Maple. Tim and Matt, who are really need to be in some psychiatric ward. They are social media nuts. Well, they're everywhere. If they doesn't sell, they change the name. There's a lot of issues there. But I love the guys because they have really promoted maples in an amazing way. You can get some out of Heritage in the Northwest. And of course, you can go down and buy them. You can dig up seedlings. We have seedlings everywhere. The seedlings are nice. We have seedlings we've kept. So you can see it in 4 or 5 years. Golly, that is really a pretty tree. It's got good red color. So you can grow from seedlings. Not against the law. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. It is gone. At least I was told that. A fire, you heard it, and then something else happened. Greg may know. Do you know Greg? Yes, ma'am.
When do you know that a camellia is not going to recover?
It's a good question because we have a lot of leaf here. I'm waiting for it to recover. It's been 2 years, 3 years, 2020. Yeah, 2+ years. So I don't know. Our rule was not cut anything. We just want to watch. And so we're now in the process of hammering some back to the ground. If it looks like it's vigorous wood down below, I'd say go ahead and do it. It's just wounded, it's just badly wounded. But we'll never have -6 or 5 again, will we? Huh?
Need to move away
The
from
one that's marked December 23rd, 9 degrees. We covered everything with frost fabric in the nursery. There was no rain in it, there was no snow in it, it was a blustery wind, our frost fabric blew away. We had it nailed down with bricks, but it was really, really bad. We have as much damage from that freeze, December 23rd, that we had from the freeze 2 years ago to -4. I don't know if you agree, Craig. And I don't know why, but the plants weren't ready at all. At least the plants they were acclimated a little better in February of 2021. So I've been real surprised. So some of the evergreen magnolias that I don't show pictures of anymore, I'm embarrassed I promoted them. They had come back, but this latest freeze just ended. They were too vigorous from the damage that they got in 2021. They came back from the base of the trunk, and they were just wanting to get back in business, and that freeze did a number. So let's quit gardening. Thank y'all very much. Really appreciate it.
You know, I was thinking that when you think of roses, you gotta think of Greg Grant. When you think of azaleas, you gotta think of Keith Hansen. When you think of maples, you gotta think of Dave Creech. And when you think of East Texas, you gotta think of how blessed we are to have these guys.